Matt and I are planting our main rows of beans today. You can see the cattle panels behind me, these long rows, 2 long rows. That's where we plant the majority of our beans. And the favorite bean that we love to grow is Greasy Beans. There's some different varieties. There's like a Deutsch Chamber that we like. There's one that has pink in the name. I can't remember it exactly. But the majority of the ones that we grow, we save every year, here's my bag from last year, is just the WNC Market Greasy Bean. And we started growing them years ago. I got them from So True Seed in Asheville. And then after that, that was kind of our favorite one. And after that, we just continued to save the seed and grow them every year. And if you're not familiar with greasy beans, so a greasy bean is like a half runner. I mean, it's a climbing, a pole bean, in other words. You've got to have something for it to grow on. And what makes the bean unique from other green beans is that if you look at the pod, when you've got it, got the pod, it looks almost like someone's took a small amount of oil, grease, and just kind of rubbed it on it lightly. So it has a sheen to it. As far as the taste, I think they taste really good. Now, whether or not I could tell the difference between them and the white half runners Granny grows, I'm not sure that I could. But I think they're a really pretty bean. It is a bean that you have to string. You have to string it before you break up. A lot of people don't like that, but I grew up stringing beans and breaking them up, so that's just part of the whole game to me. Last year, for the first time, we planted rattlesnake beans, and we really loved them, and they did so well for us. So we've already planted not nearly this long of a row, but one little row of them on the other side of the house. So we already have them growing, or already have them planted, but they've not sprouted yet. In Appalachian Foodways, green beans play a huge role. It's probably, other than corn, I mean, those are probably corn, taters, and beans. That's kind of what most Appalachian people, what they grew up on, and kind of what the mainstays of their garden still is today. And there's just a variety of ways. Of course, we love to eat those fresh green beans. They're just nothing better than a fresh pot of green beans. Fresh taters that you've grabbled out, and of course fresh corn, roasting ears. Who don't love that? That's all great eating. But for the green beans, as far as putting them up as the summer goes on and they begin to produce, mostly what we do is can them. We like to can green beans, and we like the ease of getting a jar off the shelf and cooking them that way. We also make leather britches, if you're familiar with leather britches. Sometimes they're called shuck beans or shucky beans, and that's just dried green beans. That's all that is. You can also freeze green beans, freeze them. But the actual, no matter how you cook them or how you fix them, that's just one of the mainstays of the Appalachian Foodways. And in Appalachia, as much through the South is the same way, people really like to cook their beans a long time. I have a video about that, so I will link to that for you. But one of the interesting things I always think about when we start planting our beans is I've collected a lot of folklore over the years about planting your green beans. So I'm going to read you some of them. You'll have to tell me if you've heard any of these. And the very first one is my favorite one, because it brings up so many memories for me of Pap, all the years I grew up in his big garden, but then now all the years I've gardened with Matt, because he does the same thing, although neither Pap nor Matt do it because of good luck. But this is the folklore. When planting beans, press the soil with boot for good luck. So see, I remember when I was even a girl, I would notice Pap's boot prints in the garden where he had stepped on the beans, maybe on a mound of squash or something like that, and I always thought that it was almost like a stamp of a job well done. There was Pap's footprint, so it was a job well done. Well, the deer hunter does the same thing, Matt, so I still get to see that stamp of approval. Planting beans in the middle of the day for a better yield. And I'm sure we've probably accidentally done that one over the years, but I like to plant in the morning or in the cool of the evening. The midday is a little too hot for me, but sometimes I'm sure we had to do that. Beans planted on dark nights will grow the best crops. Plant beans early in the morning if you want to have the crop come in earlier in the season. Again, I'm sure we've done that one before, although today we're not doing that because it's late in the evening. Plant beans when the elm leaves are as big as a penny. You'll also hear that kind of the same thing. It's time to plant your corn or your garden, like when oak leaves are as big as a mouse's ears or a squirrel's ears. Beans planted during a leap year will produce more than usual. It's not been that long since we had a leap year, but I don't remember. Our beans generally do good for us every year, so I'm not sure I'd be a good gauge of that one anyway. Putting bean hulls in the path will make vines grow profusely. That one kind of seems plausible because maybe they enrich the soil. Plant beans in new ground or under a tree and there won't be any bugs on the vines. Well, if you planted them under a tree, see, I'm not sure how they'd get enough sunshine. Maybe if the sun slanted in on them, that one's interesting. Beans planted on the full of the moon will begin bearing at the ground and bear all the way up. So that's definitely one you'd want to do. Plant beans on a full moon in April. April would likely be early. Some years it'd be okay, but some years that would be too early for us here in the mountains of Appalachia. If beans are planted on Good Friday, they will grow well. Again, most years that would be way too early here. They would come up and then they would get bit by a hard frost. Plant cornfield beans from June 1st to the 4th Saturday in June. Granny loves cornfield beans. She loves cornfield beans. Beans should not be cultivated during the dog days as the beans will all drop off. See, that one doesn't make sense to me because when the dog days get here, my beans are still producing and I can't just leave them. I mean, I can't ignore them. I got to take care of them. Maybe that means that you shouldn't plant them during the dog days, but by then your season would be getting shorter and shorter. It is bad luck to give bean seed away. Well, I've certainly done that one, so but I don't think I've really had that much bad luck. But those, I love folklore. They're all interesting. A lot of times they come with maybe maybe there's a piece of something in them that's true or how it got started. I just love to think about that, and I love to think about how those pieces of folklore have been passed down in the mountains of Appalachia for many generations, and although I may not follow all of them, here I am passing them along again. So we got the beans planted. Now we get to look forward to harvesting those wonderful green beans, eating them fresh, putting them in a jar to eat next winter. I hope that you'll leave a comment and tell me what are your favorite varieties of beans to grow. And as always, I hope you'll just keep dropping back by to help us celebrate Appalachia.